Tell me if this sounds like you. So, you're an ambitious product manager. You know you want to get to the next level, and you're doing it because it truly, truly matters for you. And it matters for your family because you're going to set them up for their financial success. And I know that you've made all these different sacrifices for your career, whether it was studying hard, working hard, finding the right places to go to, networking with the right people, just putting in the work. That is why you're investigating the intentional job search program. I also know that this can be a tricky decision for many people. Tricky in the sense that you're going to commit a lot of time over the next few months, and you're going to commit significant investment to this program so that you can get to that next level and help fulfill your own desires, your own dreams, as well as the dreams of your family, friends. You want people to say, hey, I am proud to know this person. They're phenomenal. So, recognizing that it's a tough decision, I could tell you a lot of ways to think about it. But why not showcase some of our successful clients who went through the same process? They were where you are. They were evaluating, should I join intentional job search? Should I try this out on my own? Or should I just give up on the whole thing? And I'm going to share clips of people who went through this decision to help you inform your decision making process.
So I think one of the hesitations that I had before joining the program is it worth the ROI? So I was, like I mentioned, I was already in a couple rounds of interviews before joining the program, and I knew what I need is this kind of a narrative coach. If you think about it, should I invest in this IJS program, getting unlimited support, or should I just hire like a narrative coach or like an interview coach on other platforms? I think at the end, what kind of pushed me towards the edge are two things. One is I got the recommendation from a close friend who was also like an IJS alumni. And I think that kind of won me over.
Career wise, I was feeling stuck, like I had reached a plateau. I had been with my current company for more than 2 years. There wasn't really a career path that I could see for me there. Personally, I just become a father. So I had a 5-month-old son, I think, at the time. And my wife and I made the decision that she wasn't going to go back to work. I was the sole source of income in our house, and then started to just look around at the market, and the market was shifting quite a bit. So I was like, okay, I think I should probably start thinking about trying to get into big tech or a place where I could feel like I could grow and make a bit more money.
Cool. You like have this motivation of next role, big tech, make more money, grow faster in your career. I'm curious that as you looked at intentional job search, like what were the biggest hesitations or concerns you had in your mind before you decided to go for it?
So I had decided to try to get into a big public tech company, and I had actually been successful and gotten a few interviews. I got to the first round in 3 different companies and didn't get past the first round in any of them. And I remember one of them was actually, I reached out to the hiring manager at this like really well-known company that was like, I was like, wow, I'm interviewing there. I just remember during the interview, I just watched his eyes just, okay, I want to end this interview right now. I had always been a really good interviewer, so you can just sense when it's not going well. And I just knew that I had just bombed it, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I am not doing something right. I'm not saying the right things that these people need to hear in order to realize that I'm a good candidate. Because I was a really good fit for that role, but I wasn't conveying it in the right way. And that's when I was like, I need somebody who can guide me, who's been through this, who can take me through the steps to like land one of these roles, because it's not the same as interviewing at a startup of 50 people, or like it's a different level. I realized I was like, what got me here is not going to get me there. I need to figure out what the pieces are to structure these interviews in the right way and go about it in the right way.
Amazing. So now I know what got you to reach out. So then tell us what's next. Like you evaluated us.
Yeah, honestly, from the first coaching call I was in, I was like, yes, this is it. I remember I talked to Sarah. We were just talking about some of the success people had and the different salary bands that I could get to and what that would mean for my life and for my family and for my career. I get excited about things. So I was in, but I had to convince my wife. She was like, this is a big commitment. And we have a 6-month-old son. It's a lot, like commitment in terms of time and money. And we have to make sure this is the real deal. And I was like, she's always the super ego behind my id that is just, I want to go for it. And so she's like, let's just talk about this first. And so, is this the right next step? Then we went to evaluate, and it was honestly the testimonials. I gave her the list of testimonials. She sat down for a half hour and watched a bunch of them, and she was like, this is awesome. You should do this. This is it. We were both in, we high-fived, and we were like, all right, let's do it.
I've been a PM for about 10 years, made the switch from a developer and worked at a Series A startup, just figuring it out on my own for my first job. Over the years, I've worked at lots of companies of various sizes. Some of the highlights were Map Anything, which was acquired by Salesforce. I was there from 50 employees to 200. Then Service Titan, which went from a 1 billion to 10 billion valuation while I was there. And then most recently, Google, where I was working on some of the early applications of large language models.
Cool. So you've had a storied career, even like before joining Intentional Product Manager, Intentional Job Search. So let's go back. I want to revisit when you looked up IPM, however you came across this. What was life like, and what were the core problems you were looking to solve?
Yeah, thought that with my resume, it would have been a lot easier to find a job, but this is definitely a much tougher job market than I've ever navigated. And through the course of the program, I also realized that I was never being truly intentional about my job search. I was just taking good opportunities as they fell in my lap. I hadn't applied for a job in 8 years or something. After going at it myself for about 2 months and not getting any traction, I was getting pretty frustrated. And I realized that, look, you can't just try to power through this on your own. What you're doing isn't working. Why don't you get some help from someone who's specialized in product managers? I really didn't want to go with any kind of coaching agency that didn't have that specialization, because I think that the interview process and what you look for is fundamentally different for PMs.
100%. Totally agree. Okay, so with Google and everything, you realized there were challenges. I'm sure when you looked at us, you spoke with my team, you must have had some hesitations on, hey, why should I join these guys? Give voice to that. Tell me, what were the hesitations that you had?
Yeah, there's that saying, those who cannot do, teach. And what I was really concerned about was paying a lot of money to someone who was really good at selling coaching courses, but not good at actually coaching someone through it. And part of my decision criteria, it was nice that both of the co-founders at IPM had worked at a top tier company before. But what really sealed the deal for me was during the intro call, I was specifically looking for some actionable takeaways and good advice right from the very beginning. And you were able to deliver on that, which made me feel much more comfortable with paying the money.
If you're enjoying this content so far, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next video that we put out.
I wanted to work with a coach who provides coaching for product managers only. And your coaches are with you so that you get to the destination that you are looking for. Ultimately, it's a very strategic, very helpful, very kind of friendly environment, which basically helps you get your destination. And yeah, I think it was one of the great decisions which paid out well, because ultimately I was able to crack this particular job, but I also got two simultaneous offers. And I think I couldn't have done it without the help from coaches, Sam, Shobit, as well as others who are there within this program. Just to give you some context, I have worked with previously, 3 years back when I changed to Autodesk, I had worked with a coach. And certainly that time I saw the benefit of working with a coach, because coaches helps you cater your answers effectively, like what you're delivering. So when this particular time came, like when my position was going to be offshored, I had no hesitation that I need to work with a coach. Now, who that coach would be, that's something, decision I had to take. So last time I remember that coach was a generic coach. But this time I knew because the job market was challenging. So I wanted to work with a coach who provides coaching for product managers only and who are looking for product management opportunities. So I would say initially I did had a conversation with Shobit as well as another person within the group to help understand what are the things, how they strategize this whole process. And after going through that, I was pretty much convinced that this would be the best fit for me. And also another thing which helped me is that this community thing, which Shobit had mentioned during that time, that hey, this community will give you that necessary other bells and whistles that you're looking for. And I think that was another one of the important points that I considered to join this particular coaching program.
I was laid off from Meta in their last round in May, and that's what led me to IJS because I almost had to restart that journey. I think having the Meta brand was extremely helpful because it gave me a little bit of credibility. However, I wasn't getting past recruiter screens, which was shocking to me. Is there potentially an issue around me representing myself and being able to articulate what I bring to the table and possibly finding that fit? And that's when I reached out to IGS, I remember the first kind of conversation to see if this might be a fit. And what came up is really around, is there potentially an issue around me representing myself and being able to articulate what I bring to the table and possibly finding that fit? And so for me, the biggest challenge was I just didn't know what the next step was. Like, I didn't know, I literally didn't know where to put my next step in terms of like my job hunting process, other than keep applying and hope like for the best. And I was like, something needs to change. I clearly don't know what to do next. And I feel like this group will help. That was really the mindset and the state that I was in when I joined. And a little bit of my mindset, I was really sad. I was very frustrated and I felt very lonely in this process.
Yeah. Now, what you're describing is so common with people that are in the search, and you're just spinning. You feel like you're spinning the wheels, right? Like, what am I doing? I'm like applying, and then it's not happening, and no one's giving you any feedback, and you don't know what to do any better. And we've all been there. So you find IJS, you have the first conversation. I'm curious, what were your first impressions? And be honest, did you have any hesitations about joining?
So for me, I just felt like my main question was, I feel like my interview prep, because I had gotten into Meta and I'd obviously I was already fairly strong in that regard. I wasn't sure if that was really going to be a value add for me. So there was like I'm like, do I really need this for interview prep? But at the same time, like I said, I really didn't know where to go next. And I was like, I'm willing to try. So, and so that was really like the only piece. And at that moment in time, I was like, no, I need a change in strategy. So actually, I think it was a pretty quick decision for me to do it. I decided pretty much on the same day.
We're glad you joined and we're glad you decided. And look at you now. So I'm curious if you remember early on, can you speak about maybe some early moments as we started working together? So you're in the program, first couple of weeks or whenever, what are some early kind of takeaways?
Yeah. I think the first one was my strategy session with Shobit. That was, I was already like, I was like, oh my God. Because what he made me realize is I would absolutely get rejected for roles which were too junior for me. And I had already, I don't know if it was a confidence issue, whatever it is, I had no awareness of what my level was in the market, because I'd been in this process of interviewing, getting a new job, and I had no sense of what the water was and where I stood in that water. And that was the first time where he was actually like, this is your experience. And actually, if it's a startup, you should be applying to nothing less than a staff or like a principal. And that was really hard for me to grasp. I was like, really? Am I already at that level? He's like, yeah, you are. So even just changing my mindset around what are the opportunities that I'm applying for, I think that was huge. It's not to say that I didn't apply for like PM, like I was still applying for everything, but it was extremely important for me to begin to establish my position and my brand as a PM, not necessarily as relevant for I think like the bigger companies with Meta or with TikTok or with Google, like your PM, and then I know internally they'll level you along the way, depending on your experience and your performance. But I think that was really a big aha moment. I think the second one was with my resume sessions with you. I felt like my resume was already in a really good place, but it was just even like when you would push around, but what was the impact? But like, why does this matter? And I would say it just enabled me to take some of those learnings and reflect that in my interviews as well. So I actually think that the resume in some ways was like fine because like people would just look at Meta and they'd be like, fine, yeah, I want to speak to her. But the questions and the prompts and the process of going through that cleanup again, it was really helpful in breaking through my recruiter screens because then I could understand how to position myself, of course, obviously. But secondly, also to hear more clearly, what is it that they're looking for and how can I meet them where they're at?
You want to be one of our next success stories? Make sure you book a call with us. I've left a QR code for you to scan. Go to our apply page, answer some simple questions, book time with us, and chat about your career and your journey to your dream product management role.